Hey everyone. So pretty ominous title, I know, but I think it's warranted. And this video will also serve as an update on my treatment process. So I'm on month 5 of MSE / MARPE. I finished expanding months ago, and now I just need to keep the device in place while the bone remodeling finishes. And I've still got a few more months to go. Some of you may remember a comment my orthodontist told me, which was that sometimes the nasal breathing benefits that you get from MSE, which happens when your nasal cavity expands and you have more volume, can be negated when the turbinates potentially start swelling. So you get some benefits from the expanded nasal cavity, and then they get taken away by expanded turbinates. And unfortunately, this has been my experience. And I think it's important to know that it's possible because I don't think it's particularly uncommon. But basically, so I had 2 phases that I did expansion. The expander has arms on it, and I did most of my expansion with the arms on, but then I started to get some pressure on my teeth, so I waited a bit, cut the arms off, and did a little bit more expanding after. So those are the 2 different phases, armed expansion and armless expansion, that I went through. And so the first phase, when I was doing the expansion with the arms, every time I turned it, after I got after I started noticing a split, my nasal breathing would get better and better and better and better. And it got to the point where, if before treatment I was at a 0, and 100% is like perfect nasal breathing, that's where I want to be, then I went from like a 0 to 80, 75, 70, 80. And I was really happy with that. And I knew that I still had some turning left to do. We didn't get the desired number of turns that I wanted. So I was really optimistic. And then a few weeks went by, and my nasal breathing started to get a little worse again, and it got worse and worse. And it went from, like 70%, 80%, maybe down to like 30. And anyway, so I waited a while. We cut the arms off, and I started to continue expanding very slowly. And just like that, my nasal breathing was improving again. Went from 30, 50, 70, 80, 90. It's like almost perfect. I really had no complaints. If I had to live that way for the rest of my life in terms of nasal breathing, I wouldn't have a problem at all. It really was fine. I could see it getting a little better, but it was awesome. And so we put the Invisalign in, and I stopped turning. Well, actually, I was turning with the Invisalign in for a while. But anyway, I was doing Invisalign. I had stopped turning, and my nasal breathing, for a few weeks, 4 weeks or so, it was good. And then my nasal breathing started to get a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse. I went down from like a 90 to like 50, maybe. And I don't know exactly why this happens, but I have some guesses. And I think the guesses that I have actually make me kind of hopeful. And here's what I'm thinking. So I have 2 causes of nasal congestion, I think. One is that my nasal cavity was too narrow, and now it's not, but I still have the other cause, which is I have inflamed turbinates. I haven't tested positive for any allergies. I've gotten a few tests. That's not really definitive. I still might have allergies, so I don't know. If I do have allergies, we call it allergic rhinitis. If I don't, we call it non-allergic rhinitis. Either way, I think I'm guessing if you have some aggressor that's irritating your sinuses for long periods of time, and your turbinates, you spend a lot of the day with them very swollen and having a lot of blood flow, maybe they grow and they kind of just become used to this swollen state. I don't know. But what I do know is that CPAP causes nasal congestion, and a lot of people have a lot of these different tricks to try to mitigate it, such as the humidity chamber and, try to be diligent with the cleaning and stuff. But it's a very common known problem is that a lot of that air pressure irritates the sinuses. As well as I think that sleep apnea can cause nasal congestion. I don't know, but you're under a lot of stress. And so, I'm at this phase in my treatment where I still have the expander in, which is making my symptoms worse. It's just part of the treatment. It's got to get worse before it gets better. But pretty soon I'm going to get the expander out, and I'm going to be set to do MMA surgery, double jaw surgery, and chin surgery. And the goal is that I'll be cured of sleep apnea. So I won't need the CPAP. I will hopefully not be under this kind of physiological and psychological stress. And I wonder and hope that my turbinates will chill out. Also, MMA surgery itself does usually improve nasal breathing to an extent on its own, the way that it works, and maybe I'll talk about that in another video, but anatomically it does help your airways. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm still very hopeful. I'm not bummed. Would have been nice to keep the nasal benefits that I had, but I'm still, like I said, better than before, maybe halfway to where I want, maybe more. I don't regret it whatsoever. And not to mention that, MSE has more benefits than just nasal breathing when it comes to treating sleep apnea. And, but I still think that you should know. And if that happens to you, it's helpful to understand that it's a possibility and that maybe it's also not permanent. There might be things to do about it. Last thing I want to say is that I didn't expand a ton, when I first came for the consultation, Dr. Yoon says, "Oh, you could use it," but you're not a clear case for it. It's not like you need this, and I wanted it. I'm glad I got it, but maybe if somebody watching this, you're a clearer case and you're going to get more expansion, you might experience something similar, but you still might end up with a night and day difference. I know a lot of people that have. So if you've had a similar experience, let us know in the comments. Other than that, thanks for watching.